I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're speaking with Jackie Faber. She is a distinguished retired elementary school teacher and the author of several enchanting picture books. Her works, including Lucy Rigg's Naughty Pig, captivate young readers with their delightful stories and their valuable life lessons. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight, and we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her wonderful children's storybooks. The links are below. Jackie, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me, Logan. I'm so grateful you had time for me. And I am proud to be the author of 4 picture books. It's a wonderful thing to write picture books for children. And I taught school for 37 years.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is great because you're still impacting children in a positive way. You know, you're out of the classroom, so you don't have to deal with the runny noses and stuff like that. But you do get to entertain them with your great books. Which was your first book?
The first book was Desiree's Night Flight.
Okay. And let's start out by talking about Desiree's Night Flight. What was that all about?
That was my debut book. And I wrote the book I wanted to have as a child. I had studied picture books and I saw the impact they had in the classroom when I was a teacher. And I never found a book that talked about listening to the still small voice within. The closest thing to that was when I was a child was The Little Engine That Could, which I loved, but there was no book out there that talked about listening to your voice. So Desiree is a butterfly who wants to fly and dance at night, but mother and father have told her only moths, bats, and owls fly at night. And she's ready, but she can't resist. She wants to dance so much. So she flies at night, contrary to their words, and meets the moths at the dead of night and flies with them. And they fly and dance. They show her how to dance and copy their moves. And in the morning, they fly away, all except one, Blue Moth. And Blue Moth stays by her side. And then, unbeknownst to her, she's resting on a flower in the early morning hours. And a young red-headed boy comes with a butterfly net and nabs her. And she's caught in a net. And she can't get out. And she's shaken and her wings she's so afraid they're going to get tattered and torn. And she panicking, and she hears her in her inner voice say, "Don't panic, be still, find a way." And the boy runs off to get a jar for her, and she looks at the net and she spies a small little hole, and Blue Moth is by her side and says, "You can do it, you can do it." And the boy picks up the net and she squeezes herself through that hole and gets free. Swerving and fluttering and still frightened, she weaves her weary way home to her parents' milkweed plant. And Blue Moth says, "You know, you're quite a special butterfly. Butterflies usually don't fly at night, but look at you." And she said, "Well, it was scary, but I listened to my inner voice and I saw the light directed me." And Blue Moth bows his feelers and says, he says, Desiree says, "Thank you for being my friend." And Blue Moth bows his feelers. And Desiree spreads her wings opened wide to the sun and said, "My inner voice and true light, help me find my way. And yes, I will live another day." And she thanks Blue Moth for helping her and teaching her to dance. And it's a story about friendship and about the hero's journey and doing something that is something you dream of that is very hard, but then being able to listen to your voice inside you. And the display quote to the front of the book says, "As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live."
Wonderful. That is a beautiful, beautiful story. It really is. I mean, it's actually something I've wondered about myself is like, why do people love butterflies and despise moths? You know, there's such a subtle difference. if I mean, only a scientist probably could tell you the technical difference between a butterfly and a moth. So I love the premise to begin with. And then the idea of self-reliance, about keeping a cool head, about having that inner talk, about having that inner voice, and her finding a way out of the net. Think it's absolutely fantastic. That was your first book, and I'm sure that's your baby. You're very, very proud of it. What's your most recent work?
The most recent work is Lucy Rigg's Naughty Pig. It just came out in July.
And why don't you tell us a little bit of the story of Lucy Rigg's Naughty Pig? You might not have to go into so much detail, but just a
Oh,
little bit of a overview.
okay. Well, Lucy Rigg's Naughty Pig is diving into a world where flowers sing to the buzzing bees and mischief is afoot.
Mhm.
And Pinky wakes up one morning and he can hear the flowers singing and how sweet they are. The tulips say they're tasty and tangy. The pansies say they taste like candy. And the chocolate cosmos say they're as sweet as chocolate melted marshmallows. So, of course, he eats all three. And it's a farmyard story like no other. Pinky is lured by the melody of the bees and he becomes obsessed. And Lucy tries to stop him by enlisting all her farmyard animals to help her. But in the end, nothing works. So she decides one final idea on her own. She'll overstuff him, and it works, or does it?
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, do you have a test audience? Are there little children in your life that you get to read these stories to see how they enjoy them?
Yes, I do. I volunteer at the Montessori school, and I try the stories out on the children. And I'm in the process of finding a new place to try my stories out in the classroom in a school nearby me.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's great. It must be great satisfaction to create this work and then have the kids react to it. I'm sure they react to it with a lot of glee.
I want to say one thing about the stories, that the two stories. They all have back matter. They all have scientific back matter. And I think that's so important because as a classroom teacher, I wanted to have the books be used in the classroom. So like, for instance, in Desiree, there's how to plant a butterfly garden, a picture of all the plants in a butterfly garden, the metamorphosis of a butterfly, how to draw a butterfly and a flower, and how to, a place to color in a Desiree. And in Lucy Rigg's Naughty Pig, there's facts about pigs that are so interesting that I fell in love with. This is a picture of Lucy Rigg's Naughty Pig.
Yeah.
I fell in love with pigs, and I can't eat pork anymore. It's called Pig Trivia. And so I just wanted to mention that all the books have back matter for classroom use.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful that they are scientifically correct. So the kids are getting more than just an entertaining story. They're being informed and educated as well. Your other titles include Super Goldfish, and of course, one of my favorites, In a Perfect Home for Kittens. And in A Perfect Home for Kittens, you explore the theme of finding one's place and the importance of kindness. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Well, I got the idea when my mother passed away and I inherited her darling cat, Tabby. And I just adored that cat. It was all I had left of my mother. And so I slept with her and she purred very loudly. And I kind of spent a lot of time with her. But one day I decided to take her over to visit my friend, Gary. And I noticed right away she liked his house. She loved his carpet and he fed her tuna. She loved his big lap and sat in it for a very long time. And when it was time to leave, I looked for her and I couldn't find her anywhere. I looked behind the couch. I looked behind his chair. Finally, I went to the closet and there she was on the second shelf. And when I went to grab her, she went, "Rawr." So I knew I was not going to get her home. And so the story was born then. It's told in first person from the cat's point of view, A Perfect Home for Kitters. And she finds everything at my house not perfect, but at Gary's house, everything is perfect. And yeah, so in the end, she lets Jackie know that since it was a true story, I used my name. She lets me know that she's going to stay there, and she does.
Wonderful, wonderful. Your stories are so imaginative. You're a born storyteller, just the way you tell us these tales. Now, let's say somebody from Disney comes to you and says, okay, I see you have 4 books here. Which book do you want to see turned into an animated cartoon or movie?
Super Goldfish. Super Goldfish is I wrote it during COVID, and it was, of course, when Trump was president. And it's a wonderful story, and I have pitched that as to be a cartoon. I got the idea for that when I was teaching at Wade Thomas School in San Anselmo, and I had a gifted writing student, and his name was Tyler, and he came up with a character of Super Goldfish. And I noticed how everyone in the first grade classroom just adored a superhero fish. And so it was my inspiration to write a story about Super Goldfish, how he protected the guppies and goldfish in the glass castle and transformed a mean bully into a friend. I could tell you more, but I don't know if you want more.
It's wonderful. They're great stories. There's 4 of them. The most recent book is called Lucy Rigg's Naughty Pig. Jackie has created quite a world within the pages of her books. Congratulations on these books. Good luck with their sales. Good luck with your success as a writer. You are a natural born storyteller, like I said, and you come up with great imaginative stories. So keep at it. Thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight, Jackie.
Thank you, Logan. Thank you for your time. I appreciate all the encouragement. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure meeting you as well. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time. This time, until next time on Spotlight.